Hello, everybody. Good morning. I'm still trying to get myself adjusted, so you're going to be looking at the sky for a minute. Hang on. Let me make this just a little bit taller because I feel like you guys are staring too low. Maybe I'm too tall. Here we go. I found a button. Boop. There we go. Now I'm more comfortable. Hi. How's everybody doing today? Letting people in, getting everybody logged in. If anybody has anything they want to throw at me, go ahead. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to talk about today. And if you don't want to talk about it, I'm sorry. We're going to talk about LA County's moratoriums, what we can do, what we can't do. We're going to talk about a new tactic tenants are using. I've been speaking about it for about a week now. It's still happening. I am officially calling it a trend. So I found a trend, no joke, where tenants that are in eviction are not filing answers. They are waiting until the sheriff posts that 5-day notice on their door. And then they file an ex parte motion and a motion to set aside the judgment and then ask the court to give them 5 days to file an answer, basically stating that they were never served. This is a new tactic being utilized by tenants. And why I tell you this is it doesn't matter, but it matters, but it doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? They're changing when they're starting the fight. Usually we're accustomed to being fought head on at hello. And what we're seeing now is they're fighting us at goodbye, which messes with our mental psyche. Hang on, give me just a second. Let me turn this phone down so you guys don't hear a phone ringing the entire time I'm talking. That would be annoying. So what they're doing is mentally, we as landlords want to say, okay, it's going to sheriff lockout. We're almost there. We get all excited. We get happy. The fat lady's about to sing. It's when they get posted that 5-day GTFO notice from the sheriff's department that tenants are then going to the court, filing an ex parte hearing, getting a motion to set aside the judgment, and then being able to file an answer. So I am seeing this now as a trend. I think this is what they're teaching tenant advocate groups. Okay. And I went to a tenant advocate group meeting and I have an update for you guys, especially in LA County. So pay attention. I saw a question come through. I want to answer them as I get them. You mentioned that we need the tenants to put our names on the tenant's renter's insurance. So if they cancel the insurance, we can get notified. What is the term again? You want to be listed as additional insured or interested party. Sometimes they won't do additional insured. They just do additional interested party. There we go. Interested party would notify you anytime there's a change on their policy. That's what you're after. If they don't add you to the policy, I'm good with that. Okay. I don't need to be insured everywhere I go and every time I breathe. A lot of them won't. Okay. And that's good. But you want to be listed as interested party. Very important, because then they notify you if the policy is being canceled. Da-ding. Paying attention. That's what really matters. Hold on. Let me breathe. I shouldn't say let me breathe. I should say let me suck down some more caffeine. Who's winning in the courts, and is this for non-payment of rent? Okay, so buckle up, folks. Hang on, I'm still letting people in. This is what I want to tell you in regards to what tenant advocate groups are teaching our tenants in LA. It sucks, but here we go. If you haven't been paying attention, LA County went back to their very restrictive moratorium. This isn't something new. This was actually, let me put it this way. LA County was going along fat, dumb, and happy with their strict rules against landlords. We could only do evictions for a nuisance, and it had to be bad. Police reports, health and safety violations, code enforcement violations. I mean, to do a health and safety or a nuisance eviction, it's got to be bad. That's it. Wait, Patty, what did you say? Can we do evictions in LA County for non-payment of rent? Yes, we can. Hold on. Let's talk about it. If they don't pay you for July through the end of the year, they can self-certify by just saying they've been affected by COVID. If they do that within 7 months of the, or 7 months, 7 days of the rent becoming due, then they don't owe the rent for that month. It gets added to their COVID rental debt. What did Patty just say? Tenants can self-certify to the end of the year in LA County? Yes. Here's your loophole, folks. And yes, I found one. While the state law was in effect stating that they needed 90 more days to pay us landlords that were waiting for funds through Housing is Key, they would offer additional protections for tenants that had applications that were pending. And for tenants that did not have applications pending, they had no protection. Remember that? You guys all remember that? So for 3 months in LA County, April, May, and June, you were able to do evictions on non-payment of rent. You guys remember? You might still be in eviction now. You never know. You might have got possession. Could have. Tenant advocate groups are now teaching tenants to pay landlords at least April, May, and June's rent, because if they don't, they can be evicted. But they can self-certify from July through December of this year. That's right, landlords. If your tenant owes you rent in LA County for April, May, and June, serve them a 3-day notice to pay rent or quit now, and do not stop, do not pass go, and file your eviction on day number 4, okay? This is your loophole. I don't know that you have another one. As soon as the tenant pays you for April, May, or June's rent, you don't have a cause for eviction probably until after January in LA County. Paying attention? Does that make sense to you? April, May, and June. If you do an eviction in LA County for April, May, and June's rent, they can't cry COVID. Paying attention yet? And I'm getting a little bit more antsy about it because guess whose tenant isn't paying the rent because they're sick with COVID? It's mine. It's me. I'm on the receiving end. I want to sit here and say, Goose Fraba. I'm just trying to keep my composure so I don't lose myself. Yes.
Does that include, hi, Patty. Does that include people that are coming as a new tenant, let's say in July and forward? Does that apply to the newcomers too?
There is no law in the LA moratorium that says for tenants that moved in on or after this date. There isn't one. So if you rent your property tomorrow, they could cry COVID the very first month they live there and not have to pay you. It was written in the state law that if they moved in on or after October 1st, that none of the COVID protections applied to them, but it doesn't reference anything of that nature in the county law. Ouch. I saw some more questions come through. Let me go grab them. How about a property with Larso? Don't even poke at them. Don't even poke at them. In San Bernardino County, are we allowed to charge late fees? Roadrunner Realty, hi guys. Okay, so here's everybody else's updates. Orange County, with the exception of the city of Santa Ana, which now has rent control. Got it? Orange County, city of Santa Ana has a rent control. You know how LARSO kind of branched outward. Now we got Baldwin Park and Pasadena and Beverly Hills, and add Santa Ana to the list. And we're going to keep seeing that spread, you guys. That's not going to stop. It's going to keep spreading. In Orange County, with the exception of the city of Santa Ana, you're back to business as normal. You know, back in the days of BC, before COVID, you can serve a 3-day notice. If you're exempt from statewide rent control, you can serve a 30-day GTFO, get out of my house, if they've been there for less than a year, and you don't have to give a reason. As long as you're exempt from California Civil Code 1946.6, also known as the Tenant Protection Act, also known as AB 1482. We're back to business as normal in San Bernardino County in its entirety. We're back to business as normal in Ventura County in its entirety. In Orange County, with the exception of the city of Santa Ana, which recently obtained its own form of rent control. Ventura County, San Bernardino County, Kern County. Yeah, I said Kern, Val. I know you're listening. Inyo County. As nicely as I could say this, with the exception of LA County and the city of San Diego, we are back to business as normal, no COVID. Everybody got that? So the biggest problem you're going to find going forward is if you're dealing with single family residences, folks, and please pay attention, I may ask questions later. January 1st of 2020, they passed the Tenant Protection Act, also known as AB 1482, and now more recently known as California Civil Code 1946.6. If you failed to disclose to them by the end of the month of July of 2020 that you were exempt, then you have rent control. You can't disclose now when you found out about it. The judges aren't buying it and they're not touching it. So if you didn't disclose that you were exempt from statewide rent control, you have it. You could attempt to disclose that now, but I'll tell you, we're not seeing the judges siding with the landlords on that one. Okay. Is not that normal. We are at the third month mark with eviction and no sheriff yet. Yeah, that's completely normal. Remember, everybody got their teeth all at the same time in various counties, and it just inundated the courts. Inundated, and I mean it. It's taking almost 60 days to get a case number out of the Barstow courthouse. It's taken about 50 days to get a case number when you first originally file. It's ridiculous to slow down. And it's because all of us landlords got our teeth back all at the same time. And on top of that, not only did they get their teeth back all at the same time, they also could do small claims all at the same time. So guess what? We as landlords are biting. Why? Because we can. We haven't been able to bite for 2 years. We can now bite. So we're all biting at once. And it's just bogging down the court system in general. Everything's taking longer. There's a few cases I check on often. I try to hold hands with my people and keep an eye on your cases. I do. I know there's people in here that go, yes, Patty watched my case like crazy. Can I raise rents now in Long Beach? No, not until the end of the year. You're not going to like my answer, but I'm going to tell you, Jim, no, not until the end of the year. And most likely that end of the year will be extended to June 30th of 2023. No joke. Here's the reality, and I'll say it simple, okay, Jim? In incorporated cities in LA County, let me rewind and change what I'm going to say, okay? Erase, rewind, let's try again. Sorry, I am blonde, gotta have fun sometimes. In unincorporated cities of LA County, you cannot raise the rent at all. Unincorporated cities of LA County, you cannot increase the rent. There's 144 cities that applies to. Can't increase the rent. In incorporated cities in LA, you can do a rent increase as long as the tenant hasn't been affected by COVID. And before you go, my tenant was never late, they weren't affected, I'm going to raise the rent. I want you to remember this. If they were affected by the COVID pandemic, your increase is considered retaliatory. So let's talk about this. You're going to do $100 increase for the next 6 months. You're going to make $600. How much do you think a retaliatory lawsuit is going to cost you? Think it'll be over $600? Risk versus reward. The risk is too high and the reward isn't there. I beg you, please do not increase your rents in LA County. It's not worth it. Do you know anybody that hasn't been affected by this pandemic? I don't. Affected is a very broad term that could be easily argued by your attorney or theirs. Why spend the money to get involved in litigation? The litigation is going to cost you more than you would get in the increase. Just don't do it. It's not worth the risk. Just saying. Think about it. I'm going to increase their rent $100. Okay, you're going to make $600 by the end of this year, and in January they're going to file suit against you for retaliation. How much is that going to cost you to defend? I hope that clicks. Okay, I know we want money right now, but we need to take a deep breath, stand back and look at the big picture. Look at what you're up against. It's not worth it. Find another way to make $600. Don't do it in LA County, okay? Just saying. Find another way to make that $600. Don't do it there. Sorry, I know I got focused on increasing rents in LA County. Don't do it. Hi, Patty. I am in Montebello, LA County side. Can we serve a notice for July and rent relief didn't pay for June's rent included in the notice for July's rent? Here's the thing. Listen to me, okay? Paying attention. I'm going to try to make this as simple as I can. If you serve them a 3-day notice for July's rent, they can self-certify for July. They cannot self-certify for June. So serve a 3-day for June. And if they don't pay in 3 days, start the eviction for June's rent. If you put them both on the same notice and they self-certify, they're on the same notice. Why couldn't they self-certify? So then you just wiped out June's rent. Does that make sense? I would not put them on the same notice. Right now, I would treat April, May, and June like it was a goddess. I would put it up on a pedestal and I would focus all my energy and all my efforts right now on April, May, and June's rent, because they are already telling tenant advocate groups, you haven't paid rent in 3 years almost. Well, that's not how they said it. We've had a break from paying our rental expenses for the past 24 months or longer. If you want to add a extension to that, before we have to seriously start thinking about paying rent again, you may want to consider self-certifying every month from July through December. Got it? Okay. Don't include July with April, May, and June. April, May, and June need to get a crown put on their head and put up on a pedestal. And I'm telling you guys, run, fight. That's your window. You don't have another one. That is it until the end of this year. That's your window, is April, May, and June's rent. And they are being instructed to pay April, May, and June's rent as quickly as they possibly can to avoid potential eviction. And I hope you understand what I meant about putting June and July's on the same notice so that they can't self-certify. I acquired a property through joint tenancy. I know what that means. I have no records of a deposit, but tenant has decided to move and informed me June 30th and intends to move in the next several weeks, but has not paid in July and wants her deposit when she leaves, but has no record of the deposit from 7 years ago. Hold on, somebody's trying to call me on Widget's Way line while I'm teaching a class. I can't take your call, I'm teaching. She has no record of the deposit from 7 years ago. Do I need to honor her deposit? She has no receipt. The burden of proof falls on the tenant. The tenant has to prove that they paid a deposit. The tenant has to prove that they have a deposit that needs to be refunded to them. Stop calling me on Widget's way. I'm teaching a class. I'm not going to answer you. I hope that makes sense. The tenant has a responsibility to provide proof if they want their deposit back. They have to show proof that they paid a deposit. I hope that makes sense. Please say that again about self-certifying. A tenant in LA County, the entire county of Los Angeles, under their current moratorium that goes to December 31st, and most likely will be extended till June 30th of 2023, says that within 7 days of the rent being due, a tenant can notify their landlord that they've been affected by COVID, and then they don't owe the rent for that month. It goes on their COVID rental debt. Got it? So this scares me because we're going to do a lot of cases, or we're going to see a lot of cases that are going to say, hey, I didn't know that I had to fill out a paper and give it to my landlord every month to let him know that I've been affected by COVID and I can't pay the rent. So at this point, I'm going to self-certify and tell you in writing that I can't pay the rent because I've been affected by COVID. Here you go. And then you get to court and a judge says, plausible. No, it's not plausible deniability. It's something else. Hold on. And I'll think of the legal term. But basically, we're not going to hold it against them that they're an idiot and they didn't know that they could do that. So we're going to allow them to self-certify today. Oh, you guys remember when we saw that in the beginning of the COVID pandemic, when tenants were supposed to self-certify, and when they get into court, the judge was allowing them to self-certify in the courtroom, and then the case was dismissed. We're back to that, folks, in LA County. Okay, you're back to that. Sorry, I don't know a nice way to say how to avoid it. You're back to it. I saw some other stuff come through. Let me see. San Bernardino Bounty, I think that means county, exempt from the TPA. I love you guys because you give me all the information I need at hello most of the time. Watch, now I said it, I won't have all the stuff I need. Tenant has not paid rent in 2 months. We did a 60-day notice. It started on the 30th of last month because he is destroying the house inside and out. And we want to start an eviction now, or do we have to wait until the notice is up? He has no running water in the house either. Serve him a 3-day pay rent or quit for April, May, and June's rent, or June and July, or does he owe rent? Let's talk about that. Hasn't paid rent in 2 months. So serve him a 3-day notice today for June and July, start eviction on day 4. It's the quickest way, less evasive. But yes, you can do evictions now in San Bernardino County. COVID has officially left your county in San Bernardino, Riverside, Kern, Inyo. There's more, hold on. Orange County and Ventura County. There's still some protections for tenants in San Diego, especially in the city of San Diego. The city of San Diego is turning out to become just like the city of Los Angeles. Come on, you guys, these are metropolises. LA County and San Diego County are metropolises. High population of tenants. Where we see a high population of tenants, we will see additional protections for them. You don't have to wait until the 60 days up. Serve him on the 3-day, get him going now. Can I serve a 3-day notice to 8? Wait, I lost myself. Can I serve a 3-day notice 8 days after the rent is due? Then tenant can't self-certify in San Diego City. You can try it, Jay, but you heard what I said. When they get into court, the tenant will say something like, I didn't know I had to self-certify within 7 days of the rent being due. Nobody told me. So then the judge will allow them to sign a waiver right there in the courtroom, giving them that opportunity to sign off in court, and then they'll dismiss your case. So it's a risk. It all depends on if the tenant shows up and files an answer or if they go quietly into the night. It's a risk. Okay. Is a tenant required to give a 30-day notice when they plan on moving? If they don't, what can happen? Okay. What do the terms of your written rental contract say? Did they say that the tenant must give 30-day notice in writing prior to vacating? If so, then the tenant vacates in the middle of the night, you could charge them for 30 days of rent past their move out date. If that makes sense to you. It's got to be in their lease contract though. You can't just pull this out of thin air and say it's an industry standard. That's not how it works. So if it's in their lease under move out notice, or usually it's under security deposit or the paragraph after the security deposit paragraph. And it should say something about if tenant intends on vacating, they must give the owner a 30-day notice in writing or something along those lines. Okay. So that's a verbiage you're looking for. A lot of times we get an abandonment or a surrender. We just charge them 30 days after the date they turned in the keys, or we found the property abandoned. If you re-rent the property sooner than 30 days, you can't charge the tenant the full 30 days. You can only charge them up until the day before a new tenant moves in. I hope that makes sense. Now, does anybody have anything they want to talk about? I got a feeling it's going to be more about LA County. You watch. Oh goodness, Gabby. I have a downstairs unit in Montebello, LA County, that has been fighting with the upstairs unit and says that the upstairs unit is making noise at night and they can't sleep. They call the police and the manager at 12 a.m. at the night, but the manager has gone to the unit and says the noise is not loud. Should I serve a 3-day to the upstairs unit because the police has gone? No, you should send a 3-day curable breach of covenant to both tenants for affecting the right to quiet enjoyment. Because the tenant that's bitching about it at 3 o'clock in the morning or midnight or whatever is waking up your on-site. They're causing a disruption by bitching and complaining about it. And it could be a little bit of noise and they could be a very light sleeper. My niece happens to be a very light sleeper, and I always teased her and joked her about it because if a motorcycle drives by at night, it wakes her up and keeps her up for hours. And then she's crabby the next day. So I understand somebody that's a light sleeper having trouble. You may want to offer the complaining tenant earplugs as a courtesy. You can't make their little noises go away. And at nighttime, those noises sound much louder, but they're not affecting other neighboring residents, so they can't be that loud. Here's some earplugs. And I'm sorry you're not happy living here. If you want to give me a 30-day notice and vacate, I'd be more than happy to let you out of your term. Okay, deep breath. Lots of choices, very quick, rapid fashion. Sorry, I do that sometimes. Oh my goodness, somebody is blowing up my phone right now. Sorry, you guys. Okay, whoa, let me go back. And here comes a hot flash. And of course, I'm sitting in somebody else's office where there's no fan. Hold on a minute, folks. Patty's giving you real life experience right now. Whew. We have the house that is all tile and the tenant vacated. On the lease, it says that the tenant must have the carpets professionally cleaned, but nothing about the tile. Will the tenant be responsible for steam cleaning tile floors even though the lease says carpet? The answer is no. The owner wants to charge the tenant. Charge the tenant for cleaning the tile. If their tile is dirty, then charge them for it. But we're not going to call it carpet cleaning and tag it in there. If it needs to be cleaned, it needs to be cleaned. Simply said. Got it? I hope that stuck. And don't shoot yourself in the foot because it says the carpets must be professionally cleaned. It probably says the house must be professionally cleaned, right? You must leave it in a clean condition. So if there's tile floors instead of carpet in the house, they still have to keep them clean. If they don't, you can charge them for it. Simply said. Gabby should get a copy of the police report. Okay, Val, let me go back up and see what Gabby's talking about. But she can't do anything about it in LA County. I'm being honest, Val, just so you know. In most other counties, if you have a police report, you can do an eviction. In LA County, I need to have at least 5 of them to do an eviction for a nuisance. So it's got to be bad. J Tour. If the tenant overstays beyond the due date for vacating, is there any penalty to the tenant? Yes, they owe you 30 days of rent. Let me give you an example, okay? Let's say the lease term ends on July 3rd, okay? And here it is, today's the 6th, yeah? Yeah, today's the 6th. We'll go with that. If it's not, I'm sorry, you guys. And don't tell anybody I don't know what day it is. I know it's Wednesday. Let's say you get the keys today, okay? Because the tenant, and I gotta ask questions. Did they give you a 30-day notice and they moved out, but they didn't move out in time and they held over a few days? Because if they hold over a few days, it's up to you if you want to charge them 30 days additional rent or just for those few days. The reason I say that is an independent landlord could get away with that. Corporate America cannot. We have to be transparent. So we could charge them most likely just for the few extra days. Technically, if they didn't give you notice, they didn't get out in time, then they would owe you back 30 days of rent. Okay, hope that makes sense, Jay. And then there was something else I was going to comment on. Hold on. So if the tenant goes over, they would be responsible for 30 days of rent from the day they handed you the keys. Let me give you an example. You have a 1-year lease term. It ends today. And you're sitting at your desk in your office and all of a sudden some keys come in and get handed to you. And you're like, what's this? The tenant vacated. Oh, they didn't give me notice. Yes, they did. A year ago when they rented the place and signed a 1-year contract, you both agreed that they would be out on that day. They gave you notice a year ago. Okay. If they surrender keys on that day or a couple days before, whatever it may be, just as long as it doesn't go over, you can't charge them anything else. You're done. Game over. Okay. In the event that the tenant stays 2 days over and then tries to leave, or 1 day over, technically they didn't give you notice. You can charge that 30 days of rent. Got it? And I see more questions coming about this. So, and some of these sometimes are on a case-by-case basis, you guys. So sometimes you got to ask me in depth. How do we know if the tenants are a light sleeper? You don't. You could ask them, are you a light sleeper or a heavy sleeper? It has no bearing, but tell them, unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about it. The noise is not excessive. I'm sorry you're unhappy living here and you're not comfortable with the noise level in apartment living at nighttime. If you want to break your contract, I'd be more than happy to let you out of it. Okay, Gabby, we're going to have a talk, okay? I'm afraid that the downstairs tenants will sue us because they really want us to evict the upstairs unit. The upstairs unit is not an easy tenant as well. They never are. Somebody's bitching at them, telling them they're noisy and they're just living. So it causes some animosity, if you will, between the two already because there's a confrontation. We don't need that. So if they argue with each other about making noise, serve them both a 3-day curable breach of covenant that they're affecting the right of quiet enjoyment for neighboring residents. And if they don't knock it off, they'll both be evicted. Okay. The downstairs tenant says you're concerned that they want to sue you. That's why I'm telling you to allow them out of their rental contract without penalty because they're not happy living there. You're giving them a recourse so they can't sue you. Well, they can sue you because they don't like the color of your hair. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give you the tool and the skill that you need. So if they come back and say, you haven't done anything about this, this is affecting my right to quiet enjoyment and you're not doing anything about it. Oh no, I told you if you weren't happy living here, you could have no penalties and be free of your lease contract. I can't hold you to term if you're not happy with the noise level in this community. See how that worked? I have a duplex in San Bernardino County, just did an interior, and she's talking about inspection, just so you guys know. She's speaking my language. We talk in riddles sometimes. We say we do an interior, meaning we did an interior inspection. We'll say that we have already done the dispo and people look at us funny. We're talking about the disposition of security deposit, call it dispo for short. So sometimes when my professional managers get in here, you guys are going to see things that you're going to be like, that's not even a sentence. Yes, it is. In property management lingo, it absolutely is. Just did an interior and there's damage to the home. No furniture. Pit bull that we served a cure or quit for. Not to mention the guy present for the inspection stated that the main people on the lease are not in the home anymore. Being as they are covered by the TPA, would we have grounds to evict based on what was founded? He handed me all the smoke alarms in the home, none of them hanging up. 3-day curable breach of covenant, one for unauthorized occupants, one for modifications to the property without written consent of the landlord. That would be taking down the safety security devices, and a health and safety violation for not notifying you that the smoke detectors had been removed. Got it? Cure or quit. Unauthorized occupants, modifications to the property without written consent of the landlord. And then if it were me, and everybody that's in LA County is going to say, wait, what did she say? If it were me, because I'm an extremely aggressive property manager, I am, believe it or not. I have an owner that sometimes reminds me, now, Patty, we want to play nice. Because I don't. I'm right for the jugular, right for the throat every time. I will build you up to get you right there. Okay. Hold on. Now I lost my train of thought. Hold on. I lost you. Oh, we're back. We're on to bed bugs. Hold on. I got to go way back. I have a duplex in San Bernardino County. Just did the interior. There's no damage to the home. We just talked about that. Main people in the lease are not on the home. They are covered by the Tenant Protection Act. Remember, that's just statewide rent control. It controls you terminating tenancy without cause, and it controls how much you increase the rent and the deposit once annually. Okay, that's it. That's all it controls. Nothing else. Relocation fees, how you terminate tenancy, and how much you can increase rents and deposits. That's all it does. Keep that in mind, okay? You can still evict because they're doing something wrong. They have unauthorized occupants. They made modifications. You can still evict for cause. I gotta beat that into your head. I'll do it all day long, baby. All right, I'm moving on because Patty lost her train of thought. It happens. We have a property that's been affected by bugs. So sorry. If we pay to get rid of the bed bugs, can we charge the tenant for that surface? It depends. You need to have a paper from an exterminator saying what the cause of the infestation was. And then I'm going to tell you, is this in LA County or in RSO? Because if it is, no, you cannot. If it's outside of LA County, you most likely can charge the expenses back to the tenant. I evicted a lady once. She had bed bugs. I had the house tented. It is the same treatment that they use for termites. Cost the landlord $5,600. and tenant had to leave for 4 days or something while they did the tenting. The tenant called me on the emergency line one night at 3 in the morning and said, I think somebody's breaking into my house. And I said, why aren't you calling the police? Why are you calling me? Well, I need to let you know, you're the ones that hired the exterminator and had my house tented. And I said, oh, that's right. Your house is tented. So if somebody is breaking into your house, they're gonna die. They are inhaling toxic gases. Okay, they're dead. So maybe you're calling to tell me somebody's dead in your house. And she goes, I don't appreciate your lack of professionalism. And I said, at 3 o'clock in the morning, you're calling me because you think somebody broke into your house that's currently locked and tented, and you're calling me instead of the police. Yeah, why don't you try calling them? I'm sure they'd be much happier to take your call at this hour. I told you guys I'm a jerk sometimes. Especially when it's happening to me. Should Gabby put that offer to the bottom unit in writing to let them out of the lease? Hold on, I missed something about a bottom unit. She can put that in writing that she'll let them out of their contract. But I'd write it very specifically. Thank you for bringing to my attention. Oh, I'm going to tell you how I would write it as a property manager. Okay. Thank you for bringing to my attention that you're unhappy living here. As per our conversation, if you'd like to give me a 30-day notice this week and terminate your tenancy, I won't hold you to the term. I will allow you to break your lease with no penalties if you do that within 5 days. I always give them 5 days, 5 business days to give me a 30-day notice, or 5 business days to respond to me when I basically gave them an ultimatum. But now I want to say in writing, I'd be more than happy to let you out of your contract since you're unhappy living here. And I can't control your comfort level with noise. I apologize for that. I don't think I'd put the comfort level and the noise in writing. I'm so sorry you're not happy living here. After our conversation, I'd be more than happy to allow you to terminate your lease contract with no penalties. If you'd like to do that, please notify my office within 5 business days. In other words, I don't want you to be a pain in my rear for 3 months and then give me a 30-day thinking I'm going to let you off the hook. That was 3 months ago. I'm giving you 5 days to let me know what you want to do. It's a month to month. Just tell them I'm so sorry you're not happy living here. If you want to give me notice to vacate, I understand. I'm sorry, but other neighboring residents aren't complaining about the noise, so I can't deem it as being excessive. Would you like to move into another unit? Would you like to see if we can trade units with someone else? I mean, talk, try to resolve the situation that way. I can let you know the next time I have a vacant coming on the top floor. For the tenant that is destroying the house and has no running water, does the owner need to have running water there? Is it considered uninhabitable? What does the lease contract say that the utilities must be in the tenant's name? Or does it say that the water is paid for by the landlord? Oh my God, I'm so behind our talk. It's in the tenant's name and they had it turned off for non-payment. Do you have a clause in your written contract that says that they must have utilities connected at all times? Because that would be another reason for a cure or quit. Just saying. Okay, hang on. I got to go all the way down this list. We have a property that's been affected by bed bugs. If we pay to get rid of the bed bugs, can we charge the tenant for service? Most likely. Should Gabby put that in writing? I'm sorry, you guys, I lost my place. It's a month-to-month rental. For the tenant that is destroying the house and has no running water, we just talked about that. Awesome, thank you. It's in LA County. Thank you, Patty. By the way, Ed Hockman says hi. Hello, Ed. Is the tenant supposed to keep the lights on and the water on for the final walkthrough? What's your lease contract say? Because sometimes you guys have things in your lease contracts that are unethical. Example, tenant must keep the utilities on for 5 days after they vacate. Show me where that's a law. Tell me that I got to turn on the water and the lights for you for 5 days and how that's legal. Because just because you put it in the lease doesn't make it legal. And if their names are still on the utility, doesn't that mean that they still have rights to possession? Ooh, ooh. Okay. So tenants are not required to keep on the lights or the water for the final walkthrough. Does it make it much easier for us as landlords? Absolutely. We can't even check to see if the garbage disposal is jammed sometime, especially if the power's off. It's a nightmare. Can we force them to do that? Absolutely not. I mean, look at it this way. Your contract is ended, but we're still going to make you responsible to pay the utility bills here for the next 2 weeks until we can take the time to turn them on ourselves. Doesn't work. Hi, Patty. Hi, Diana. Can we serve a notice so that the tenant makes a payment towards the water bill of $1,400 plus? It's on their lease. They are responsible for all utilities. Here's your problem. Single family home in LA County, Waterworks is still not shutting off the water. And they still can self-certify within 7 days of the rent being due towards their utilities and their water. I would tell you, do they owe rent for April, May, or June? Because if they do, serve them a 3-day and start eviction. Stop playing. No joke. That is your teeth. April, May, and June. And as soon as these tenants and more of them figure out that that is our loophole to go after them, they are going to start paying you specifically for April, May, and June. So you can't evict them until January or until July of next year, depending on how long they extend it. And it counts for utilities as well. We had a bed bug situation in Kern County. The tenant denied it was them, but the house had been vacant and freshly painted before they moved in. They ended up paying, but kept denying they were responsible, but no real way to prove who brought in bed bugs. There is a way to prove in who brought in bed bugs. And I'll tell you guys, I teach a lot of classes on bed bugs. People are in the waiting room. Sorry, you guys, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get you guys all in. Sorry. Okay. If I have that screen open that shows me what you guys are asking me in questions, I can't see if somebody's trying to get into the room. So my bad. I'm trying to get better at that. I'm sorry. And now I forgot what the question was. We had a bed bug situation in Kern County. Tenant denied it was them. So here's what you do. Whenever you have a vacant unit, the day the tenant's moving in or even a couple days before is much better practice. Have an exterminator company go do a bed bug inspection and certify that the house doesn't have any bed bugs. If they will give you a certificate, and mind you, all it does is protect you for that day at that time. On this day, at this time, there was no bed bugs in the house. So if your tenant moves in 3 days later and then cries bed bugs, where'd they come from? Paying attention? If you have a tenant that has lived in a property for 5 years and you want to do a random bed bug certification, you do a random bed bug certification. You get a little piece of paper signed by the bed bug fumigation company saying this unit is free of bed bugs on this date at this time. So if 5 years from then, the tenant has bed bugs, guess who's going to be responsible for the expense? Because you can prove that they weren't there before the tenant moved in. You can prove that they weren't there 5 years ago while the tenants still live there, but they're there now and you didn't take them to their house. Okay, that's what a certificate does for you. And I'll be honest with you, let's talk about this. One of the most common places for tenants to get bed bugs, or anybody for that matter, because bed bugs don't discriminate, folks. They are the hitchhiking bugs. Airplanes are now being sprayed for bed bugs routinely. So if you put your suitcase next to somebody else's suitcase on a flight, You could bring home bed bugs in your luggage without ever staying in a hotel. New furniture, not just used furniture, new furniture. Why? Because when they go to Joe's house and pick up his old refrigerator, actually a refrigerator was a bad example, let's say dresser, and picked up his old dresser and dropped him off his new one he just bought, and they put that old dresser in the truck right next to Patty's new couch, and then they delivered Patty a new couch, and Patty asked bed bugs. Where did she get them? That's right, from the truck that delivered them. Oh, that makes so much sense.
Wow.
Okay, that's where bed bugs come from, wherever they want to. All you can do to protect yourself is get a certificate that on this day at this time, there were no bed bugs in the property. Whether it's tenant occupied or vacant has no bearing. Okay, let me go back because I know there's another question that I can answer about bed bugs. Hang on, and then I'll get to the rest of the questions. There's a lot of them today. Okay, we talked about bed bugs. It's in the tenant's name. Okay, he stopped paying his water bill and had it shut off, and then he cut the lock off that they put on the water. Then the water company put the water in the owner's name automatically. Be glad they didn't remove the meter. That's happened to me 2 or 3 times. And when they get so pissed off at the situation, they remove the meter, then it costs the landlord about $10,000 to put the meter back. But that's what they'll do next. So at this point, serve him a 3-day cure or quit for the water bill being shut off and it being in the owner's name. Send him a cure or quit notice. If he give him 3 days, if he doesn't cure it in 3 days, turn around and serve him a quit and start eviction. Done. Game over. Again, that's cause. Okay. Stop hiding behind the Tenant Protection Act thinking you can't do anything. That's not how it works. The Tenant Protection Act determines how you terminate tenancy and how much you increase rent. Nothing else. Everything else is by the book. Are the rules different for April, May, and June 2022 as compared to July 2022 on serving a 3-day notice? Yes. If your tenant, if you're in LA County, you don't want to put April, May, and June on the same notice that you put July, because in July they can self-certify. If they can self-certify for July and it's on your notice, does that mean they can self-certify for the other months too? Yeah, that's a great question, right? And there's no case law regarding it. So my opinion is, if it's in LA County and they owe you for April, May, and June, serve them a notice just for April, May, and June. Because once July comes, they can self-certify. If you put July on the same notice, then they can self-certify for all of it. Who says they can't? Hi, Sarita. Can I sign a lease to someone who is out of the country? They saw it on video and I can DocuSign. Why?
Because I think they're good, qualified. They're highly qualified, and I don't know. That's why.
But they're not even in the country, so who's going to live there?
No, they're coming here on August 1st. They will. I will see them on a video conference call. I'll see their face and their drivers. August 1st.
August 1st, when they come to take possession of the unit, they can pay you all the money then and sign a lease then.
Oh, you think that's better to sign it on the spot, not prior, and getting a holding deposit before that?
Bingo, bingo. Take a holding deposit and have them sign a lease contract on the day they move in. Why does Patty suggest this? Because you're talking about people that are out of the country, okay? And just hear me out. Let's say they never pay you a dime, but they have a signed lease contract. You don't know what happened to them. You can't go after them. They're not even in the state, let alone in the country, okay? So you have no legal teeth to go after anybody for how long you held it off the market or whatever happened. And now you re-rent the property to somebody else. They live there for 2 months. And then you're out of country, people show up and want to move into their property. Now what do you do?
Oh, right. But if I get a holding deposit, then if I get all the money prior to August 1st, then can I do the deal? If I get all the money, the rent and the security deposit?
Don't sign the lease. Don't
sign the lease.
Don't
Okay.
ever sign a lease contract unless you are standing in a house, handing them the keys, and you have all the money in your hand. That is when you sign a lease. No
Got
other
it.
pre, none,
Okay.
none.
Okay.
Too risky.
Okay.
I've had many problems. Think of it this way. If the exiting tenant doesn't get out and you have a new lease signed with these people, you have two people, both with active leases for the same address. Do
No,
you
but
know
this is
what
a vacant, it's a vacant house. It's
I
vacant.
am just giving a scenario?
Okay.
If you have two leases for the same property, you have to put one of those people in a hotel.
I understand.
So it's just a bad business practice. If the people come to move in and they've only seen it on video and they say, I didn't realize there were stairs in the house. We're not having this. We can't move in here. I don't do stairs. You have a problem. And in the meantime, you've held it off the market all this time. So it's very risky, very risky. I get your point about taking the money up front and taking the deposit and getting a holding deposit agreement. I agree with that. You just got to be cautious. That's all I'm trying to say. What did I see? Val said something. I can see where Sarita want to get the security deposit and the rent now, but it could turn out badly. Yes, you can always take the deposit in advance by doing a holding deposit agreement. I think that's the best business practice. It basically says, if you fail to move in as agreed on this date, we can keep the holding deposit and charge you daily rent out of those days until you back out in writing. So I really like the holding deposit agreement. It's a great tool for us as landlords to lock somebody in, take some money, and then still have a loophole, if you will, if we need it. If they have a signed lease, you have no rights. Okay? I can't express that enough. You have to provide habitable premises. You have to be good. Okay, I see something that says buy. Can I see? Oh, but she will lose 3 weeks of rent. Oh, thank you, Mark. Yes, she will lose 3 weeks of rent, but that's what you get when you hold a property for someone. They better be good and qualified. But you can take a holding deposit. I would not accept first month's rent until the day they move in. And that's when I would have them sign a lease. It's just the best business practice because it's the only way I can help protect you from what might or might not happen. If you pre-sign a lease, not a whole lot I can do to help you. Not a whole lot. And it gets convoluted. I gave you a great example about how the people from overseas never showed up. So you re-rented to somebody else. They lived there 2 months. And now the people from overseas want to move into their unit. And they're standing in front of you holding their contract going, who are the people in my house?
Makes sense. It's logical. I agree.
We got to watch out for those things and make sure that we're not setting ourselves up to deal with those kinds of problems because we don't need to, okay? We just need to have a good, solid business practice that makes it so that we don't expose ourselves to all that garbage that can happen because we're doing it one way and one way only. Holding deposit, leases signed, when we're in the property, giving them keys and we have all the money. Period. End of report. It is the best way I could protect you. There's a lot of weird things that happen and come about. And anything can happen. Trust me. Anything can happen. Just a much better business practice to do it that way. I know I hear it. I'm going to go try to figure out who it is. Is it me? No, it's not me. Somebody's phone's making a weird humming noise. And I don't know who it is, but it stopped. Thank you. Okay. And I think I saw more questions. Can we serve a 30-day notice to change terms in Montebello, LA County to remove cameras? We allowed tenants to put it in and in writing they could. I remember when that happened. We talked about that. There are several tenants with cameras that have had them for several, I don't care how long they've had them. You need to send out a letter to everyone in the community, letting them know that it is requested that everyone remove their security cameras I'm sorry, did you just catch me? Surveillance camera systems. Because it's affecting the right to quiet enjoyment for neighboring residents, that the community itself has installed surveillance camera systems, and there's no need for individuals to continue to have them. So we're asking that you remove any personal surveillance systems that you have mounted to the property. And I'd give that to them in a 30-day notice to change of terms, giving them 30 days to bring them all down. And if they don't, I would talk to your legal counsel. Val, don't get me going. There's some interesting people that do some very interesting things. Yeah. No problem, Gabby, anytime. I'm glad we all speak the same language. Oh, did I tell you guys what happened to me this week? My tenant's not paying the rent in one of my rental properties. I'm not a happy camper, but I'm trying to be quiet and be a good girl. But it's not easy. The landlord in me is coming out. I haven't had to make a mortgage payment on my own for quite some time now, and now I have to. I'm not happy about it. Okay. No, it's not in LA County, but I'm going to say this, and I tell this to all my tenants that rent from me, even when I was doing professional management, when it was fee management, I told them all the same thing. I'm really good at my job. Please don't make me do it. And that's the part that makes me go, oh, I'm going to work with her a little bit, but the bank don't work with me. So with that being said, I'll work with her a little bit. When I have had enough, then I will let her know I've had enough. I can't do this anymore. I'm going to have to take recourse with legal action. She also knows where I work, and I'm sure she's afraid of me. And I want to tell people now, don't be afraid of me. I'd be afraid of my kids. Don't be afraid of me. I'm not scary. They are, though. I'm being funny, you guys, but I can't hear you laugh at me, so I don't even know if you're still there. All right, I'm going to end this unless anybody has anything. Oh, Val's got something. What you got, Val? Oh, I have a tenant that is habitually late like every month. I used to warn him, and sometimes that would work. Last month, I did not warn him in advance and ended up serving him a 3-day. He did pay his June rent and a 10% late fee. He did not pay July. My question is, how can I let this guy know that I'm going to ask him to leave if he is late? Or have I screwed myself since it's a pattern? I'm okay with the additional 10%, but very frustrating. Serve him a 3-day notice. Again, honey, some of us have to do our job every month, and we get paid an additional 10% for doing our job every month. I have a tenant that doesn't pay the rent unless I serve her a 3-day notice. No joke. She's like, oh, great. My notice is here. Here's some money orders. Oh, you bringing me my notice? The check's right here. Let me hand it to you. It's her way of getting me to come pick up the rent every month. She trained me. But she also knows I ain't playing. On day 4, I will start eviction. How does she know this? Because she's already done 2 pay and stays with me, and I told her there would not be a third. For those of you that don't know what a pay and stay is, it is where the tenant pays everything current so they can stay there and you don't continue with the eviction. And if you're ever doing a pay and stay, please include your legal fees. It's the only place you can get them paid back to you. Are the rules different for April, May, and June 2022 as compared to July? And so on for serving a 3-day notice? My answer does not apply to the city of San Diego. I have to look up their initiative. The only place this is going to harm you is LA County. July and going forward in LA County, tenants can self-certify and say that they were affected by COVID. And if they do that, then the rent is not owed until the end of the pandemic period. So it gets put on the COVID loan that we never wanted to give because we're not a bank. Got it? So April, May, June applies for LA County. That is your window of being able to evict in LA County. Everywhere else except the city of San Diego, and thank you, Jay, for keeping me on my toes, is back to business as normal. So Riverside County, San Bernardino County, Kern County, Inyo County, Orange County, with the exception of the city of Santa Ana, which now has its own form of rent control. We're back to business as normal. So if your tenants don't pay for July, serve them a 3-day start eviction. No joke. It's only LA County that's a little tricky right now. And I believe there's additional protections in the city of San Diego, which I need to go look up. I can't answer that. So April, May, and June applies for the whole year for everybody, because that's when we had the state protections. Okay. But I'll look into San Diego. I almost want to say if they didn't pay for April, May, and June in San Diego, you most likely can do an eviction for non-payment of rent. Don't be shocked if you guys start getting rent payments in future months, especially in LA County, that says, oh, I know it's July 15th, but here's April and May's rent. That tells me right away, serve them a 3-day notice for June if they owe you for June, because they're already caught on and they know what they need to do. I hope that statement makes sense to you if you're in LA County. Anybody have anything else they want to ask me? Otherwise, I'm going to get off of here and go have some lunch. Thank you. Okay, nobody has anything. Oh, Val, thank you. Mwah. All my people, David. Mwah. Anna, oh, all my people are on here today. I love you guys. I miss you all. Oh, thank you. I'm just me. I only know how to be me. Don't know how to be anybody else. Just remember, I'm human. I'm a landlord too. I get pissed off too. We're human. We breathe. Sometimes we have bad days too. Next Wednesday, I will most definitely be here. We'll talk about the Wednesday after. All right, you guys have a great week. You know how to hunt me down if you need me. Be safe out there. Fingers crossed that everything continues to go in our favor and we start getting our lives back. Feel so bad for people in LA County. So bad. Sorry. I have one there still. So I still have some skin in the game, but it's scary. They're trying to get our houses from us. What can I tell you? It's what it is. I don't know what else to say. It's exactly what they're doing. All right, you guys have a great weekend. We will talk to you soon. Bye.